Ruud van Nistelrooy signs off as Manchester United's interim manager, undefeated. 3 wins and 1 draw. It really was the perfect send-off for Ruud. And he walked around Old Trafford, standing ovation from all 4 stands. And richly deserved, man. That was a game where United dominated the first half, really pulled back in the second half. Still some good performances. I'll speak about Ugarte, Mazraoui, Ahmad, Bruno. I'll also speak about Rashford and Haaland. But Ruud, if that is going to be the last time we see him in the Old Trafford dugout right now because Ruben Amorim decides he doesn't want him to be part of his staff, just want to say a massive thank you. He's handed over the club there. Look at the table now. We're what? Spurs lost to Ipswich. So we're 1 point behind Spurs. We're 1 point behind Spurs, 3 points behind Villa, 3 points behind Chelsea and Arsenal, who play each other a little bit later today. That right there is the perfect handover. Couldn't really have asked for more. And it's not really what we expected, given how the club was feeling when Erik ten Hag left last Monday. Incredible job that Ruud has done. And I still don't really know whether or not he's going to be kept on. But in terms of that game there today, there was that horrific stat you heard in the first half. That was the first time that United have scored before 33 minutes in the Premier League this season. The other earliest goal was De Ligt away at Southampton in the 34th minute. Horrendous. But for me, the players who shone today were the technical players. Ahmad, Bruno, Mazraoui. And I suppose Ugarte doesn't fall into that category, so I'll speak about him separately. But Ahmad, I love watching Ahmad play. But I want to speak about Bruno. And this was a game where Bruno Fernandes was presented with a plaque to commemorate his 250th appearance for the club. And what a great appearance it was. I've said this so many times on this channel. When Bruno Fernandes plays well, Manchester United play well. Those two things are not intrinsically linked, but largely they are. A great goal, a great pass from Ahmad to set up little back heel, just a lovely little move from United, and a great finish from Bruno. The second goal, a cross from Mazraoui, picked him out. Bruno got the touch, went in off the Leicester defender. And the third goal, really lovely team move from back to front. Eriksen with the ball to Bruno. Bruno to Garnacho. Lovely, lovely finish from Garnacho. But that's Ugarte. Bruno, you know I will defend him probably more than any other United player. And that's why. Bruno is the difference maker in this team when you build a team around him. And I'm going to move on to speak about what's coming next, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens with Bruno Fernandes in an Amorim system that really has that shape behind him, that defensive wall behind him. That is going to allow Bruno to do what he did there today. And it was a first half where United were confident, comfortable. That's what I want to see from United doing at Old Trafford, man. First 20 minutes, we kept swarming them. And that's where I'm going to now speak about Ugarte, because I'm going to speak about Casemiro as well. But in that first half, in particular, United swarmed the centre of the pitch. You had De Ligt and Martinez pushing up a little bit, and you had Casemiro and Ugarte not really chasing the fullbacks, not really man-marking or moving out of position. They stayed central. And by doing that, we kept squeezing the space, and I called it a swarm. That's what it felt like. And Ugarte, he's growing into his role now at United because it feels like the role's a bit more defined. It feels a bit clearer, and it's only going to become even more clear under Ruben Amorim. He is a player who is definitely going to benefit from that. But that was a performance where Ugarte earned his stripes. That's all Ugarte really needs to do. When you've got players like Ahmad, that's Ruud, Ahmad and Bruno, right? When you've got players who can do that, have that much quality going forward, do the dirty work. Hustle. And that's what we saw there today in that midfield. And it feels like we haven't seen that much this season. Credit to Casemiro as well. I think Casemiro in these last few games has looked better in these last few games that Ugarte is coming through. Funny that, once you have a stable midfield that doesn't really leave their position too much, go up and down the pitch vertically, but don't horizontally chase someone who's out 30 yards on the touchline, because if you could just get bypassed, there's a massive gap in the middle of the pitch. Casemiro is benefiting from Ugarte having that role and knowing what he's doing. And look, I think I spoke about it in my match preview. Mazraoui really feels like a a Dennis Irwin style player. Somebody who every single game just, oh yeah, that's another 6 out of 10. Oh yeah, that's another 7 out of 10. Lovely cross, by the way, from Mazraoui to set up the second goal. And he was at left back, and then Delo went off. He got absolutely roasted today. Not surprised he got taken off. And I'll speak about Haaland and Rashford soon. Mazraoui just switched to right back, and it was totally fine. Such a great player. That's all he is. He's a very, very, very good football player. And each week you get a 6 or a 7 out of 10. And I wish we had more players that were that consistent, because we wouldn't be in this situation as a football club. I'll tell you that. Now, Garnacho coming off the bench made the difference with that goal. All right? It wasn't an all-timer sub-appearance from Garnacho, but it feels like he's sort of struggled with just an opinion this season. He's kind of struggled with the mantle of being a regular starter and the consistency that's required in that role and that responsibility. Lovely goal. Really was. Picked it out. But then moments earlier, he had that counter-attack and then lost his footing completely. And moments before that, he kind of spooned another attack. Garnacho is a player who doesn't strike me as somebody who's confident right now. But then he goes and pulls that finish out. It was a great goal from Garnacho. And he came on for Marcus Rashford, who, unfortunately for Rashford, he was quite anonymous there today. And I'm going to say, unfortunately for Rasmus Højlund as well, a lot of the game passed him by, and when the game came to his feet, it feels like he's got a lead touch right now. And then Diogo Dalot got hooked off. I thought Ruud made all the smart substitutions, by the way. Right? Dalot going off, Rashford going off, Højlund going off, and I think Casemiro went off towards the end because of a potential injury. I think Martinez might have gone off as well. Right at the end? I can't remember. Either way, that's 3 points for United. That's 4 games for Ruud. That's 3 wins and a draw. I suppose it's not perfect because it could have beaten Chelsea. But given the expectations going into these 4 games, it was all about the results. And I think that's how we've played largely. But that first half there was kind of more than the results. That was United playing like I expect United to play at Old Trafford. Squeezing, swarming, putting pressure on the opposition, winning the ball in the middle rather than waiting to do it on the edge of our own box and trying to counter-attack. And by doing that, building sustainable pressure that will eventually pay off. And that's all it did. The pressure paid off. And then you had Bruno and Ahmad to connect and create that goal. You had Mazraoui and Bruno to connect to create that second goal. And then as the game went on, we weren't that good. In the second half, we largely weren't that good. Ugarte was still playing very well. But then Garnacho came up with the goal to make it 3-0. It's a perfect send-off. I really don't know whether Ruud's going to stay. I've told you my prediction. I don't think that he will stay, because I don't think that... But I don't know how much Amorim might value having a connector at the club. And you won't get a better connector for Amorim to understand Manchester United as a club, or the players, or maybe the city, than Ruud van Nistelrooy. So maybe that will see him stay. But big up to Ruud, man. And even if he has managed his last game at United and he is leaving the coaching staff, he's done a hell of a job.